All right, boys, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about Alex Eubank's lifting advice. Is it good or not? First off, this is no hate to Alex. We actually follow each other on TikTok. I love his content, and I'm sure he loves mine. But let's dive into some of the advice he's given out on how to build more muscle naturally.
Tips that I have for you guys when it comes to building a bigger chest is, again, focusing on different intensity techniques.
Now, first, before we continue, we have to define what intensity means. Within the world of lifting, intensity means the amount of load that you're using. But Alex in this clip is talking about a different type of intensity. He's talking about intensity techniques, such as drop sets and forced reps. So when you hear people giving advice on intensity, it's important to distinguish which definition the person who's giving the advice means.
A lot of people, when I see them go to the gym, especially beginners, are all on that like 3x12 like mindset. Like everything's gotta be 3x12, 3x12, or 4x12. And there's no aspect of intensity that is brought into it. It's like they hit 12 reps and they're like, okay, I'm done, when they could have hit 15. Or they like are going to try to hit 12 and they hit 10 and then they lighten the weight. So
Alex is right here. 3x12 is not going to build that much muscle. When you're a beginner, it will help you build a little bit of muscle because pretty much anything works when you're a beginner. Also, anything works when you've got really good genetics or when you're on steroids. This is why you have to be careful with who you're listening to, because if you're listening to someone who is a beginner, meaning in the first 1 to 2 years of lifting, or someone who's got good genetics or someone who's on steroids, then you need to understand that anything's going to work for these people. There was a trend going around on TikTok saying you need to be doing 4 sets of 12, and that is the secret to your gains. And that's just not true whatsoever. If you're doing 3 or 4 sets of 12 reps on every lift, then you're not lifting heavy enough. You need to bring your reps down into a little bit more of a lower rep range.
One of the things you guys need to understand is intensity is so key when it comes to building muscle.
Now, it's not majorly wrong if you're doing sets of 12 or sets of 15. The research shows anywhere up to 30 or 35 reps will build your muscle. But the problem with this is you still need to be going close to failure when you're doing these high rep sets. And those higher rep sets are harder to accurately guess how much weight you need in order to hit failure by the end of that set. Whereas it's easier to know how much weight you need if you're only doing a set of 6 or a set of 8. So that means as you go into these higher rep sets, it's harder to know what weight you need.
If you've been training natural for a while, you need to have a bigger driver that's going to make you get bigger. You can't just do at first 3x12, whatever's going to make you grow 100%.
This is true when you're a natural, which I believe Alex is. It gets extremely hard to build muscle year by year by year. You get diminishing returns, so you have to train with intensity.
But if you really want to hit that next stage, if you've been lifting for like a few years, you got to bump up the intensity. And how do you do that? Through forced reps, through having like a partner to help you do forced reps at the end of your set, doing partial reps.
Now, forced reps and partial reps can be useful, but they're not a consistent way to progress, simply because it's hard to track and measure your progress on partial reps and full reps.
I bench, whatever it is, press movement till failure. Then I will do, I'll have a partner help me get forced reps, do like bang out another 3 or 4 forced reps, and then I will do partials and have my partner help me get out a few more partials, and then sometimes I'll even hold it on that stretch portion for like 1 to 2 seconds at the end of the set, and then that is a working set. Instead of doing 12 reps, done. You do your 12 reps or whatever it is in your rep range you're trying to hit to failure, have a partner help you get a few more reps to failure, do some partial reps, have a partner help you do more partial reps to failure, hold it on that stretch portion to failure, and then that is a legitimate intense working set, and that is that's what's going to stimulate growth, not this 3x12 bullshit.
Now, if you think that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. If you go to failure on your bench press and then you start doing assisted reps with your friend lifting it up, and then you start doing negatives where your friend lifts it up for you and then you control it down, and then you're doing a paused rep at the bottom for 10 seconds, are you then writing all that down, keeping track of it all? Okay, so this week I got 10 full reps on 100 kilograms, then I've done 4 partials, and then I've done 5 assisted reps with my friends, and then I've done 3 negatives, and then I've done a 30-second pause. Or was it a 32-second pause? Or was it a 28-second pause? I'm not too sure. Write that all down. Now, because we know progressive overload is the main driver of muscle growth, providing the muscle adequate mechanical tension. If you want to grow effectively and you're natural next week, now you need to beat that. You need to do a little bit more next week than you done last week. So if you're using all these intensity techniques, that's going to be so difficult to manage and keep track of. Whereas, although 3x12, it's not the most optimal way of doing things because you're going to have to use weight that's too light for you. Doing 3x12 and prioritizing the progressive overload on a weekly basis and adding more weight and more reps each week is going to be far more effective than doing all these intensity techniques.
Workout programs are dope because they allow you to give you like an idea so you stay on like you're more organized and on track. But if a workout program says like 3 sets again of 10 to 12 reps, like that's just like an idea where you should go. I don't count my reps. When I train, I put as much weight as I can on the bar that I know I can at least get like 8 or something reps with, and then anything past 8 is just It's just bonus points at that point.
And there we go, Alex Eubank doesn't count as reps, which isn't really a smart thing to do. The majority of you lads out there need to be counting your reps and tracking them and writing them all down. The reason being is because you're not Alex Eubank. You are not one of these fitness influencers who've got great genetics or maybe on steroids. Not saying Alex is on steroids, by the way, as I say. Quick disclaimer, I think he's natty. But as a natty, you cannot leave any stone unturned. You need to be making sure that you are using the right intensity, that you are lifting hard, but you need to be prioritizing the progressive overload and not just throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks, because that essentially is what Alex Eubank is doing here. He's using every intensity and training technique under the sun, which is pushing him that high above his minimum effective training volume. So he's always guaranteed to build muscle because he's always doing a lot. You couple that with good genetics, decent nutrition, then yeah, he's going to be in shape. The majority of lads won't be able to recover from all this. I used to do it back in the day myself. Used to do all the partial reps and the forced eccentric reps, and I'd be sore for the entire week. Now I've dialed back on all that unnecessary volume, and it allows me to train chest twice a week. One day where I go a little bit heavier, more so for strength, and another day where I'm using a moderate weight and a moderate rep range.
You going to failure, bro. It's so key. Now you can't, as a natural, go to failure on every single set. So for me, what I like to do is when I'll do usually the last 2 sets of any like primary movement, I will usually do that intense set, and then if it's more of an isolation movement like a fly, I'll usually do a drop set on the last set and I'll lower the weight. That's also a way to add more intensity, just because you're getting more out of the set than just that typical 3x12 or whatever it may be.
And this is key right here. Going to failure is important. Now, it is not necessary. The key is to try and get as close to failure as possible. So around 1 to 2 reps left in the tank on every set. The research shows you do not need to hit complete muscle failure. Problem is, beginners don't know how close to failure they are. And the research shows this. People will think they've got 1 rep left in the tank when it might actually be 5 or 10 reps left in the tank. It's quite common for people to underestimate how much more they've got left in them. So Alex is right in this. You need to go to failure. So the best thing as a beginner to do is to actually go to failure, so you know you're leaving no stones unturned and there's no guesswork then. And a little tip is stay away from failure on exercises like bench press and squats unless you've got a spotter and you're really comfortable with the technique and you know what you're doing. I'm an advanced lifter, so I've got no problem going to failure on these exercises because I know the exact amount of weight for the exact amount of reps that I can do. So there is Alex's lifting advice. It's not too bad, to be honest. He's right about 3 sets of 12 not being intense enough, and you need to increase the intensity. The main pushback I would give him on this video is you don't need all the intensity techniques as much as you need to just increase the intensity of the sets themselves, meaning use more weight and do less reps. We both agree that you need to go to failure, or at least very, very close to failure. And that's pretty much it. Solid advice from the guy. At the end of the day, he's telling you to train hard, and that's the main reason why lads don't really get any results, because they don't train hard enough. So well in, Alex, you're smashing it right now. Big inspiration for the social media content. And for any of you lads watching who want to build muscle naturally and get an athletic physique, even if you've got bad genetics, then check out my Natural Physique Academy down below. Nice one, boys. We upload 7 days a week. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.